We're back for another recap. Today is Thursday, June 5, 2025. So they got below this trend line. We talked about the trend line yesterday. It was a line in the sand for the bulls to try to stay above. But obviously, as you can see, the bears got price under that trend line and closed the day in a couple hours, the last 2 hours or so, under that trend line. So what does this mean? We'll look at the levels on the game plan first. The trend line was really the level at 595.67. Pretty flat for the day in terms of where that trend line was. So that was going to be the area that was my line in the sand. You can read through these notes. I also mentioned that for what it's worth, I had a training workshop, started at 8 a.m. Didn't think I'd have time to trade, but I'll talk about that in a minute because I actually did take a trade. Worked out pretty well. But here are the levels before the market opened, before 8 a.m. Eastern, and here's what price did. So price was all over the levels, but if you played by the rules, you were pretty strict about it, understanding that this 595.67 was the line of the sand. Let's just make this a different color. Like this was that trend line. And so they've been above this trend line. They opened above it right at this level here. They fell down into it. So after 9:45, well, first of all, they fell down into this trend line. And it was before that 15-minute window is when they bounced. This is where I took the trade. I got a bounce there, but they came down into it. But after 9:45, they were above it. So if you were looking at this kind of in a silo without any understanding that this was an important level that the bulls were going to fight, and you went long here expecting price to eventually go up, you would have had to buy again down at these other levels. The total points out of the money, if you went long here, long at the next level, and long at the next level down, no rules would have been broken, and you would not have been out of the money enough to make any change to the original plan, which is to be long across these three levels. And as you can see, this was support. The bulls tried to get price above before the first hour close. That's the half hour, 10:30 a.m. And they were above the trend line again. So meanwhile, you got 4 points on these three contracts averaged in. Now, you have to understand what's going on here. Knowing that the bulls want price to be above this trend line and they're working their way up, would you go short when they got back up to it here? You could if you wanted to, because enough time had elapsed when they got underneath this level. But I wasn't messing around with the market at this point. I was out early over here. The point is, I would want to see if the bulls could keep price above this thing. So I'd leave this thing alone. But if you had gone short here, then you would have been given a base hit as they fell down. We've already gone long here, so we're going to ignore it. Now they're up to 596.97, going short there, give you a base hit. They went up to 597.68. This was a near miss. It was a near miss really the first time here at 10:47 a.m. They hovered underneath this. This would have pulled you into the trade with a 5-cent buffer and probably would have given you enough for a base hit. But after seeing this type of action here, coming up really close within 10 cents and pulling away a lot, I would not want to go short there just in case that they were building energy to go higher. They did go higher. They went up to the next level. Once again, if you went short, waited this thing out, you would have been given a base hit as they fell. So we can talk about recycle trades. This 597.68 happened to be a near miss again. If you went long there, they came up within 10 cents of a profit objective pretty quickly. And meanwhile, they came down within 10 cents of even triggering this. So near misses all over the place. The price is coming down, but you've already gone long at these levels, at least these three. We're going to get to this one in a minute. And you've gone short at all these levels. So you're going to ignore all this back and forth, not knowing if the next hit is going to work as well as the first hit. When they got down to 593.45, it was the first time. If you went long there, that was your last trade, 4 points as they bounced. So total 6 base hits, 4 points each. That's 24 points if you were strictly playing by the rules. And those of you who have taken the course and understand what those nuances are would understand. So price fell below this level. We didn't have anything underneath it. They came back up. Normally, you would want to take a recycle trade, but there is a rule that says don't trade within 30 minutes of the closing bell. And that was here, 3:37 p.m. Not going short here would have possibly saved you some heartache because they got out of the money somewhat, but eventually they came back down, but we're not going to count this. All told, 6 base hits for the day. I did end up taking a trade today. I didn't think I would be able to. I had a training workshop that started at 8 a.m., so I started recording the screen before the training class, and it was running for the first hour and a half or so. And by the time we took the first break, the market had already opened. It was after 9:30, and I was looking at what they were doing. They were coming down to this 590.67, which I knew was the trend line, which is pretty important. So I actually went long with 6 contracts really quickly. I had a chance to do this. It didn't take very long, just a few minutes, and pulled 6 points. And that was it. So after those 6 points, I'll just let this thing run for the rest of the day, or at least until I think it was about 3 o'clock or so, or 3:30 by the time I was finished with that training. So I'll just let this thing run, or I'll just show you that I let it run. I didn't take any more trades. So it worked out pretty well. There's a lot more trades to be had, but probably a lot more work too if you were willing to play by the rules and just be diligent in the process. So at 3:30, I was done. So I stopped the recording. Here's what the tracking logs look like, playing by the rules. A lot of notes here to read. Ultimately, 6 contracts, 4 points each, 24 total points. And we're above 90%. I'm not sure if we were there yesterday, but this is just playing by the rules. The assumption you're trading 2 contracts at every level. You have not scaled up to 3, 4, or anything else. Starting with $50,000, I've said this plenty of times. Here's where you would be, not halfway through the year, over 90%. And then my trade right here, the one level, 595.67, 6 points on 6 contracts, $1,800 before commissions. Back to the daily chart. If you recall on the game plan, we talked about them getting under the trend line for hourly or daily closes. Probably wouldn't look too good for the bulls, at least for the time being. So they've attempted it once. Obviously, they pulled back a couple weeks ago. So here they are. Try to get above it a couple times. Got a couple closes above it, at least 1 or 2 here, barely. And then today, 2 hours, and then 1 day close. And if they do the same thing tomorrow, we'll have a weekly close under this. That doesn't look too good. It could just be a reset for them to come down because obviously they're getting kind of far away from some of these averages. Not that they need to be close to them or anything, but just to point out, they've got plenty of safety nets down here, the bulls, to rally from here and go higher. Let's look at the weekly chart since we're at it. Here's where they're at. This is still bullish in the big picture. No reason that they can't get back above this thing and go higher. But just to give you an idea where they're at in the big picture, over here on the daily chart, just to show you that this trend line came into play today and gave the bulls a little bit of trouble, and they're back below it. And we'll see what happens tomorrow morning. So, of course, as you know, there will be new levels and a new game plan that will be available to subscribers first thing tomorrow morning before the opening bell. So thanks for watching. I hope you found some value in it. And if you did, please consider liking and subscribing. I would appreciate it. Thanks again. I'll talk to you in the next recap. Have a great rest of your day.